In this video, we're gonna be working on an iPhone 6 that doesn't display any image. The phone does show backlight, but there's no image on the screen. Customer came in and he said the phone was working at one point, and then at some point it would get stuck at the Apple sign, and then later on there would be no image on the screen at all. So how do we troubleshoot such a board? The first thing I do is check the board under a thermal cam. In our case, we use the FLIR thermal cam. I did check the board under the thermal cam and I do not see any hot spots on the board, which means that we do not have a short on the board. The other thing I check for are the filters under the FVC connector or on the sides of the FVC connector. There are a lot of filters that are responsible for creating the image or for passing the image. If one of the filters are missing or not connecting properly, then we're gonna have an issue with the image. In our case, all the filters are good and we do not have any missing filters on the board. The third thing I want to check is the chestnut IC. That's the display IC. Display IC is responsible for making the image on the screen. So if the display IC is bad, or maybe it's not sending the voltage over to the FVC connector, then we're not going to get any image on the screen. Now, I can go to the schematic, I can open it, I can start troubleshooting, testing voltages, looking at the diagrams. But based on my experience, I do not want to do all of that. I want to focus on the display IC. I feel like it takes me less time to change the display IC rather than looking at the circuit diagram, testing voltages, and doing all that stuff. So in this business, time is money. When I have a lot of things to do, I do not want to waste a lot of time on one specific device or board. I want to get this board done as soon as possible and move to doing something else. Now, if I do not have something else to do or we do not have anything else to fix, then I do not mind spending time on this board. But usually, I do not like to spend more than 20-30 minutes working on a specific board. If I feel like the board is going to take a lot of time to fix, I can put it in the back of the pile, call the customer and tell them that we're going to take more time to fix your board, or they can just come and pick up. I do not want to spend hours and hours working on one board like I see a lot of people do. It's not efficient, especially when you have other things to finish or to do. Right now, what I want to do is reflow the display IC. Solder balls can get disconnected from the pad, and as a result, we will have no image on the screen like we do on this one. So by reflowing, we remelt the solder balls under the chip and we connect them back on their pads. Now, if the display IC itself is bad, then reflowing is not going to help. We have to change the IC. But the first thing we're going to do is reflow the IC. If that doesn't work, then we're going to change the IC. If that still doesn't work, then we're going to dig deep down into the schematic without wasting too much time. We'll look at things that can cause the image not to come on the screen. We'll test a few voltages and we'll take it from there. For right now, I just want to reflow. If that solves the problem, then that's great. If not, then we'll take the next step. So let's see how that is done. All right, so success. We reflowed the display IC and the phone is working again. So how long did it take to fix this phone? 30 seconds to check it under the thermal cam, about a minute to check the filters, and it took us about 1 minute to reflow the IC and fix the components that went out of place. 2 minutes, 3 minutes. That's amazing. That's awesome. Efficient, straight to the point, easy money, and we can move on doing other things. Now, if display IC did not solve the problem, then I would spend more time on the board, 20, 30 minutes, but I would never spend hours and hours on a board like I see a lot of people do. It's not efficient. Unless I do not have anything else to do, then I do not mind making this a project and just trying to find where the problem is. I take educational guesses. We have option A, B, C, D. There's 10% chance that it could be option D, so I leave option D until the end. There's 30% chance that it could be option C, so I leave option C until the end. 50% chance it could be option A. I start with option A. Now, like I said, I find it a lot easier to change the component in question rather than troubleshooting and opening up the schematic, testing for voltages. It takes me a minute to change the display IC, so why spend 10 minutes looking at the circuit diagram? I take educational guesses. I follow step A, B, C, D. If none of the steps work, then I can go on to checking the circuit diagram, waste another 20, 30 minutes. And if we still cannot get the board to work, then I'll just put it in the back of the pile, move on to doing something else, and I'll call the customer to let him know that we're gonna take more time to fix his board. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you learned something from this video. Like this video if you liked it, subscribe if you haven't already done so. Leave a comment if you have any questions, and I'll see you in the next video.